In the EU, the number of credit cards carried per person is 0.8. And
not even one per person.
U.S. is 4.
Which is like a debit card for your bank, just a bank transfer card. That's all you have.
Yeah, we just use debit cards.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. But then, in that case, there's no debt, right? I mean, at worst, someone might have an overdraft. But
no, it's just secure transport of money.
Yeah, I don't know. I genuinely don't understand the point of credit cards. I don't get it. I've had people try to explain it to me, and I'm like, I don't get why I'd want that.
Well, why? Why
I will
spend
tell
your
you,
own money if you can spend somebody else's?
But I will
OPM.
but I will tell you, amongst people who have money, you'll see that guys who have real money, they will not use a debit card. And not because they're not using a debit card because they don't have the cash. They use the kind of a credit card that you pay at the end of the month, not the kind of a credit card that you're like, hey, I'm going to, you pay off. People have credit cards that they pay at the end of the month. Every month we have, one of our credit cards we pay. I don't know what the number is every month, $400,000 or $500,000 per month that we pay off because it's like a business credit card, but we have to pay it every month. It's not rolling, right? And the reason for that is protection, because you don't want your debit card number out there. That's what you don't want, because that can be hacked into your cash where the money's at. So that's the only argument against debit, is to use credit that you pay at the end of the month. What you're saying is, which makes a lot of sense, is the credit card to just use and pile up the debt. I'll pay it off. And that's kind of the culture. I mean, I got caught up in that in my early 20s. I was in at $49,000, and it was a mess. It took me a minute to pay that thing off. I had a choice between BK and paying it off, and eventually paid it off, but it was not an easy transition to go through it. So,
can I add to this?
Yeah.
You touched on it. Like, I don't understand the purpose of credit score. I talk about this all the time, where I have a good credit score. I'm not gonna lie, it's 800, whatever. But it's like, I'm more concerned with my net worth than my credit score. That's what people like. You talked about the problem that we're having in America is the credit score and credit cards has been gamified. I'm getting points. I'm getting miles. I get to travel for free. Who was the guy, Catch Me If You Can? The movie that Leonardo DiCaprio played. I'm escaping his name, but the great guy. He's basically saying
Frank Abagnale,
exactly. He was saying you have to have a credit card. That's the only thing to prevent fraud. If someone takes your debit card and takes 10 grand off of it, that's going to be a lot more difficult getting it back, because that's your money versus the credit card. You call up the credit card, you call it in. So there is this thing with that. Back to the credit card situation. I don't know if you're aware of this, Tom. So I talk about the 4 C's of debt. Everyone has to deal with this. We've got credit cards. You've got car loans.
Yep.
You've got college, right? Student debt. And the big one is cribs, AKA mortgages. If you buy your house right, you know what you're doing. But a lot of people feel like they have to they buy more house than they can afford, and they get into this mortgage debt situation. We've all seen the Cribs on MTV.
Payment-based lifestyle. How high can I go?
How much can you do? But here's the interesting thing about credit cards. Credit cards during the pandemic was the only of those 4 that went down.
$2.1 billion of credit card debt were erased.
So people were buying. People were buying
21.
cribs. People were buying more cars. We all saw that used car prices have skyrocketed. When has that ever happened, right? And then people still keep going to college. But credit card debt went down by 13%. Now we had this big spike of up 13% because it went down because everyone's sitting at home. No one's traveling other than Zuby traveling around the world. And everyone's just sitting home. They're getting stimulus checks. They're getting unemployment checks. They're like, all right, fuck it. I'll pay down this credit card debt. So that's the reason that it's escalated. So if you look at the credit card debt, I think student loan debt is at 1.5 trillion. Car loans are at like 1.3 trillion. And credit cards has never even reached $1 trillion. I think it's like hovering between 800 and 900 billion. It goes up depending on.
That's been the peak. It's been there a couple times.
Exactly. But it hasn't hit $1 trillion. So it's not that big. Like the student debt issue is way worse than the credit card issue.
How much is student loan debt?
Total about 1.5 trillion. Okay. And then cars 1.3 trillion. Credit card hovering between 750, 850, 900.
As students are going back, Zuby, it's kind of interesting. In the United States, sometime next year, it will be official. Unless this economy causes people to put their life on credit cards, what's about to happen is student loan debt is going to be 2 times credit card debt sometime next year.
It's already close. If that number on the screen there's right, 1.75.
Yep.
I think it's even up from the last time I checked the stat with 1.5. Now it's at 1.7 trillion. What? This has gone up in the last 6 months?
By the way, remember how earlier I said I wonder how much room is left in credit? So the 16.2 trillion is all mortgages, auto loans, credit card, all
Correct.
that, right? Okay. The increase in borrowing, which equals $302 billion over the last 3 months, reflected in higher prices for homes, cars, and aggregate. Consumers still have plenty of room to spend, with another $3.33 trillion in available credit. That's a lot of
so it's
money.
already on
Okay,
there.
so $3.33 trillion.
In available credit.
Since the pandemic started, about 42 million new credit card accounts have been opened, and consumers now hold more than 750 million auto loan, credit card, mortgage, and home equity line of credit. Overall, consumer ages 30 to 59 have record levels of debt. There you go.
It goes back to the point, Pat.
wait,
You got to connect those two dots, Pat. I'm sorry, Zuby.
Oh, no, go ahead.
You have to connect the two dots. What hasn't gone up is wages. And so the delinquency rate, regardless of how high
Yeah.
that credit ceiling is, as soon as this delinquency rate starts moving, that's when we're in trouble, and that ceiling's going to come down. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, sorry. Did you say there were 750 million car loans?
750 million car, mortgage, credit card. So it's like
total.
all
Oh,
combined.
okay, combined.
So if you
Okay,
run a
okay.
credit report and let's say you got a $28,000 car loan, you got a $476,000 mortgage loan, you got a $9,000 credit card debt, all of that they're counting as accounts. 750 million
Okay.
accounts like that.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.